So let's start from this question. 14. Saraswati was a successful IT professional in USA. Moved by the patriotic sense of doing something for the country, she returned to India. ठीक है, moved by the patriotic sense. ऐसा अभी भी है क्या, देखते हैं. Sense of doing something for the country of she returned to India. Together with some other like-minded friends, she formed an NGO to build a school for a poor rural community. The objective of the school was to provide the best quality modern education at a nominal cost. She soon discovered that she has to seek permission from a number of government agencies. The rules and procedures were quite confusing and cumbersome, यानी कि बहुत जटिल है. What frustrated her most was delays, call-outs, attitude of officials, and constant demand for bribes. Her experience of many other like her has deterred people from taking up social service project. A measure of government control over voluntary social work is necessary, but it should not be exercised in a coercive and corrupt manner. What measures can you suggest to ensure that the due control is exercised but well-meaning, honest NGO efforts are not thwarted? यानी कि रोका जा सके. So let's see. So the principle of good governance requires civil society and state to come together and provide service effectively. क्या है principle of good? This requires civil society and state to come together provide service effectively. But today, honest civil society are being harassed by bureaucratic procedure. तो honest civil society, honest जो civil society है, जैसे कि कुछ पढ़ के लोग आए कुछ करना चाहते हैं, तो they are part of civil societies, but they are being harassed by bureaucratic procedures on one hand, while civil societies themselves are engaging in nefarious activity, यानी बदनाम चीजों में फंसे हुए हैं. स्टेक होल्डर यहाँ कौन कौन है? तो सरस्वती है, जो कि सी इज कंसर्न पर्सन एंड वांट टू ब्रिंग चेंज इन द सोसाइटी बट हैज बीन हरास्ड बाय गवर्नमेंट. फिर है आपका स्टेट हैज toughened the laws for regulation of civil society to control the dishonest activities being performed by civil society. Third, आपका citizens, they want effective, timely and quality service delivery, and civil society provides an avenue for dedication. Measures to ensure government control but leading honest NGO work. Measures from government: clear-cut regulation. Government regulation should be limited to annual audit of NGO receipts and payment and should not expand beyond. Using e-governance, bureaucratic formalities like renewal of license and registration should be made online. Transparent funding. Each NGO must mandatorily submit the source of their funds to bring trust between NGO and government. Impact assessment report. NGO should be required to submit annual reports highlighting the achieved objective, and flexibility should be given based on achieved objective. Setting up department. In each of the government department, especially development oriented, a specific department must be set up to deal with NGO. Reduction for formalities, paperwork required to start an NGO should be reduced to minimal extent to prevent harassment. Single window clearance, concept of single window clearance must be come from NGO to provide them for ease of doing business. Grievance redressal mechanism, timely completion of regulation, regular auditing, focus on citizen interest. The whole governing process must be designed in order to achieve the best interest of the citizens. Now, measures of the civil society: transparency mechanism, participatory nature, social audit, grievance redressal mechanism, follow rule of law, follow the societal ideals. So, conclusion: efficient, effective, and transparent working of civil societies must to attain good governance. Only a transparent civil society would have the moral authority to keep the state accountable. Now, question number 13. ABC Limited is a large transnational company having diversified business activity with a huge shareholder base. The company is continuously expanding the generating employment. The company, in its expansion and diversification program, decides to establish a new plant at कहाँ कर रहा है Bikaspur, an area which is underdeveloped. New plant designed to use energy efficient technology that will help the company to save production cost by 20%. The company decision goes well with government policy of attracting investment to develop such underdeveloped region. The government has also announced tax holiday for 5 years for companies that invest in underdeveloped areas. However, the new plant may bring chaos for the inhabitants of Bikaspur region, which is otherwise tranquil. The new plant may result in increased cost of living, aliens migrating to the region, disturbing the social and economic order. The company, sensing the possible protest, try to educate the people of Bikaspur region, public in general. That's how its corporate social responsibility policy would help overcome The likely difficulties of the residents of the Gs4 region. In spite of this, the protests begin and some of the residents decide to approach the judiciary as their plea before the government did not yield any result. Identify the issues involved in the case. What can be suggested to satisfy the company's goal and to address residents' concern. So, in the above case study, there is a conflict of interest between social and economic progress. The company believes that the development of new factory will not affect the society, but society believes otherwise. Now, the stakeholders, company, locals, and government. Company has received a tax holiday and ready to undertake CSR activities, but is still facing the protest against its operation. Locals, they are protesting against the rise in cost of living, migration of outsider in the locality, and threat to existing social and economic order. Government is of view that EBC Limited must take up investment in such region to develop the areas. Involved issue mistrust of people. There is generally mistrust of people on the development undertaken by the private parties and their associated intent. Threat to local identities. Local are worried about threat to their identity and their local culture as migration from outside will take place. Lack of awareness. People are not aware about the good happening by the CSR policies of the company. Poor people participation. Government does not involve the locals before granting permission to set up factories, leading to protests by locals. Unbalanced development. Such protests would lead to unbalanced development where no company will set up in backward region. Threat to ecology. People are worried about the factory activity will lead to degeneration of the environment. Support to company. Government is supporting the company and not the locals, which may lead to huge uproar. Declining trust on government. People do not perceive that government always work for public interest and hence is willing to go to judiciary. Now, methods to satisfy the company needs and people's concern. Skill development. Company must take up skilling of locals to reduce the dependence upon the outsider migration. Undertaking ecological development. Company must highlight its means to improve the ecology to reduce its ecological footprint. Grievance redressal mechanism. Company must set up grievances redressal mechanism to address any grievances of the local. Focus on education. The CSR policy must clearly spell the expenditure and main focus should be on strengthening of social infrastructure. Following due process, company must follow the due process of law like involving Gram Sabha for acquisition of land. Involving local leaders, company must establish communication channel with local leaders and involve local civil society to address people's concern. Providing shares of company can involve locals by issuing them to share of company, thus making them shareholder in the company. So, developing awareness, conducting environmental impact assessment, single window clearance, proactive role of local authorities. To ensure the long-term sustainability and profitability, development efforts must be all-inclusive, participative, and maintains people's trust. Question number 12. You are a young, aspiring, sincere employee in a government office working as assistant to the director of your department. Since you have joined recently, you need to learn and progress. Luckily, your superior is very kind and ready to train you. He also beats up a bit through your boss and a nice person in the office. He is engaged in domestic violence at home. In such a situation, you are left with the following option: analyze this option with its consequences. Just ignore thinking about that because it is their personal matter. Report the case to the appropriate authority, and you own your own innovative approach towards the situation. So, in this instance, young ambitious assistant is confronted with an ethical dilemma. On the one hand, he respects his boss for his intelligence and for being a knowledgeable person, but on the other hand, his boss is committing domestic abuse towards his wife, causing her suffering. The stakeholder is ambitious assistant in his new job, but has also found out about domestic violence at boss home. He is training the ambitious assistant, but is engaging in the domestic violence too. Colleagues, they are aware of the boss behavior at his home. Boss wife, she is a simple lady and victim of the domestic violence. Just ignore thinking about it because it is their personal matter. Merit, respect your privacy. Since the matter lies between husband and wife, ignoring the matter is a respect of privacy of couple. Conflict of interest, intruding the matter will bring conflict of interest for me as my personal interest and professional interest will collide. Good relation with boss, it will help me in maintaining the good relation with the boss and continue my professional journey. Demerit, crisis of conscience, ignoring the evils when I can help other would lead to crisis of conscience within myself. Continuation of suffering, no action would allow boss to engage in domestic violence and his wife will continue to suffer. Violation of rights, it is infringing on the right of an innocent person who may not be capable of escaping on their own and requires the assistance of the third party. Responsible citizen of society, as a member of society, I would have failed to perform my duties and responsibility. Report the case to the appropriate authority. Merit save the wife. Submitting the case to the appropriate authorities will immediately protect my director's wife from domestic violence. Counseling by the expert. The authority would have domain specific knowledge and experienced counselor who could assist the boss and his wife. Fulfilled my responsibility. I would have fulfilled my responsibility as a good citizen of the country. Rule of law. It will establish rule of law and ensure that nobody is able to get away because of privilege. And adherence to my values. It will ensure adherence to my values and make me follow the voice of conscience. Set the right precedent. Other employee of the department would take it as example who hasn't yet made the complaint despite being aware of the situation. Limit long-term issues. It may jeopardize the husband and wife long-term relationship. No source of income may force her to suffer at the hands of her spouse. Can be devastating for wife. It also bring their relationship to the attention to their neighbors and family, making my directors more hostile towards this his wife. Risking of career. If I am putting my job on the line of for someone I have never met. Innovative approach towards the solution. Make the wife aware about her rights. I directly communicate with the wife and make her aware about the legal options and her rights. Gather the facts with the help of neighbors and colleagues. I would try to ascertain more facts related to the case and to take a firm stand. Approach the civil society. I would approach the civil society working in the field of domestic violence and make them aware about the incident. Clear in approach. I would remain clear in approach that I need to improve the condition of women and legal options need to be explored for the long-term solution. Discussion with the boss. I will talk to him about it and make it clear that this kind of behavior is not acceptable and is a criminal offense. Discuss with higher authority. I will have an informal discussion with higher authority and seek advice on the situation. Conclusion. Any hasty response that has the chances of jeopardizing the marriage of my boss and my professional career. I need to gather the data first and take action accordingly.